The reason we wanted to sit down with you and just ask a few key questions is because there's these disasters, these wildfires that are burning, and there are a lot of questions now. People are saying, oh, wait a minute, these are fast moving fires. What do folks with access and functional needs need to pay attention to that may be different from other folks that are more mobile or have greater evacuation ability? So this may sound like a stupid question, but why is it different for folks that are facing a disaster, evacuation, and that type of thing, for those that have access and functional needs?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I appreciate you asking that. So individuals with access and functional needs do have considerations to take in mind and to plan for that able-bodied people don't. And some of those have to do with transportation. For example, if I'm going to be evacuated, I can't get into any vehicle. I have to have a specialized vehicle that's got a ramp and it's accessible for my wheelchair. I might have mobility devices. I might have a pet or a dog that provides services for me that has to evacuate with me. So the key here is planning. It's proper planning. Plan what would I do in an emergency situation and have that worked out before an emergency happens. So it's Preparedness Month. This is a perfect time to look at that. We've got fires burning, they're moving quickly, and if you don't know what you're going to do, chances are you're going to find yourself in a tough spot.
So if I'm a relative or a friend that I know, I have a friend like you, or maybe an elderly grandparent that has a hard time getting around, is there anything I can do now to help with that? Like, what can I do?
Absolutely. And again, it's all going back to getting a plan in place and having a network. So if it's somebody you need to check in with, check in at regular intervals. If you know you might have to evacuate, put in a plan. How will we evacuate this individual? How will I get out? If I can't rely on my own transportation, what about a neighbor? What about a friend? What about a family member? What about any of the groups that I'm involved with, church or otherwise? And you need to go about 4 deep. That's what we tell people. Go 4 deep, because chances are, in the heat of it all, emergency situation, you're not going to have access to everybody that you've planned for. But if you go 4 deep, you should be able to get a hold of somebody.
Give a couple examples of what are some of those challenges, like how much longer it takes, or the vehicles. Like it's interesting that you maybe not think of, like, I can't just drive over to your house and pick you up.
That's exactly right. So you have to plan for what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is I've got my own vehicle. It's accessible. It's set up the way I need it to be. I can get in and out comfortably. I've got somebody that's going to be there with me that can get me out when I need to go. The bad is I'm relying on somebody that's maybe 3 or 4 deep on my plan. It's in a vehicle that isn't comfortable. I may have to leave my wheelchair behind. Right? This is an emergency type of situation. The ugly is I'm relying on somebody I don't know. This is law enforcement, first responders. They're going to come, they're going to grab me, and it's just about survival. Pulling me out, loading me up somewhere, and getting me out of the danger area. But under all 3 scenarios, number one thing, life, protection of life.
So now your office here at Calavis has done some videos that are available online. Describe what those are. How are those helpful?
Yeah, so we've got videos, and they're fully accessible videos, and what's great about them is we have, for example, earthquake videos that talk about preparation. And the principles that we use during one disaster are directly applicable in another disaster. They talk about things like, what can I as an individual with an access or functional need do? What can you, as somebody who knows, loves, cares about, or takes care of somebody with an access or functional need do? And what can we as a community do? And I would encourage everybody to go look at the videos, go to websites like ready.gov, and come up with a plan. Because by the time the emergency happens, it's too late to just try and cobble something together.
And these are real practical videos. It's not just saying this is a problem and you should plan.